Hello. The number 3 most viewed video from PragerU is this one, Why I Left the Left, by none other than Dave Rubin.
Do you believe in free speech? Do you believe that people should be judged by their character, not their skin color?
Oh boy, he's already getting off to the MLK quotes. This is going to be a juicy one.
Do you believe in freedom of religion?
These are a lot of leading questions. Do I believe in freedom of religion? Hold up here. I feel like you're doing a Mott and Bailey on me. Now when I say I believe in freedom of religion, to me that means you've got the right to believe what you want. But if that begins to affect other people, you might be going too far. If it's like inside your house, okay. If it's inside your church, okay. Now if you start forcing other members of your community to go to your church, maybe a little too much. Another example, if you're a doctor and you start denying people blood transfusions, maybe you've crossed the line. You know, maybe you shouldn't be a doctor if something like that is against your religion. We're setting the table because we know Dave Rubin's gonna... Well, that is an unfortunate face I have paused it on.
You believe these things, you're probably not a progressive.
Uh-oh. This is news to me.
You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was.
Somehow I get the vibe he's not doing a lot of thinking.
My show, The Rubin Report, was originally part of the Progressive Young Turks network.
Uh-oh. Man, he is right in that TYT cred.
Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder.
Okay, then you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what progressivism is. In fact, we spoke about this in one of the previous episodes I've done. Dennis Prager had a video talking about the left versus liberals. The way he put it, there's a stark difference between so-called progressives and liberals. He would label progressives as leftists. They're not liberals, but louder. There's a fundamental difference in their ideology. Ultimately, liberals would support capitalism and progressives support, well, equity or egalitarianism. Ideally, anyway. There's some exceptions as of late.
Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities.
Major shout out to this Chad looking out for the short men. Is this like a polycule? That's what it looks like.
They embraced change. In short, who wouldn't want to be a progressive? But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed.
So he doesn't explain anything else about a progressive ideology or a progressive outlook on the world. It's just they look out for the people. Anyone can look out for people. That's not necessarily relevant to an ideology. Although it's been tried quite a bit lately. Yes, even conservatives can look out for people in their community. Lately, that's been put to the test with a lot of them outright denying COVID. But hey, you can't win them all.
But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed.
Oh.
Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it.
What?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? What? Wait a second. The last video we did, Dennis Prager said that liberals said this. Wow. Inconsistency between PragerU videos. What a fucking shock. Hold up. We gotta pull this up.
No one has been more committed than American liberals to the famous statement, I wholly disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm before the year's over. I mentioned in the last video that conservative commentators do a lot of conflation of anything to the left of Reagan, conflating leftists, liberals, communism, socialism, I guess now progressives. Now here we see Dave Rubin is also participating in this.
Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive.
Yeet! I hear this a lot, and it usually doesn't really turn out like that. If you're referring to someone like Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro, usually the way it works out is a whole hell of a lot of people show up and counter-protest them. That's not banning them. That's the marketplace of ideas. Also, some of these speakers bring so many hostile crowds that it's like, there's no way a small college campus can support this. You know, they say a college campus is supposed to be a place for free speech, and to an extent, I agree. But at the same time, if you're the kind of person who's going to draw thousands of people and counter-protesters, a small college venue is probably not going to be able to safely handle an influx of that many potentially hostile people. If you're going to draw a crowd so large, you might as well just get like an actual venue.
Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct. That's not progressive.
No, that's called having a basic level of human decency. It sounds like Dave Rubin wants to say the N-word. That's why he's working with Dennis Prager now. What, you can't call people Oriental anymore? And that's not progressive? Are you sure about that? Dave Rubin is like, I can't scream the N-word at the new employees. This is leftist conspiracy!
Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, that's not progressive either.
What? What does that have to do with anything? There's nothing to do with politics. Oh yeah, we put a seizure warning on this video game. This is the left has gone too far. Oh yeah, we put trigger warnings on signs outside the venue of our concert because our show has a lot of pyrotechnics in it, and we don't really want any potential veterans coming in with PTSD. We don't want them to come through and have their PTSD triggered. We know what they have to go through. That's not progressive either. You are an ideological regressive leftist. I'm Dave Rubin and I hate the troops. I mean, that's hyperbolic, but it's following the same logic. Followed to another place. Now, I know Dave Rubin's just doing it to sell out to the hostile, hateful online conservatives, but I genuinely do believe that people who make this much of a stink about trigger warnings, like, genuinely just hate people with PTSD. Normally that refers to veterans, but that applies to everyone, though.
All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive.
That's stupid. Boo! Did you not cringe and die a little on the inside when you said that? Or did your smug ass just sit there and be like, that's such a great line. I got him.
This is one of the reasons I've spent so much time on my show talking about the regressive left.
Yeah, I know.
This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective.
A judge? Really, Mr. Rubin? Have we taken over the justice system too? Is it the Jews? Is it cultural Marxism? You're not saying it, but it feels like you're brushing up against it. Have we taken over the justice system too, Dennis? Is it the Jews?
If you're black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group,
Female has to wear pink, huh?
you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male.
Does Dave Rubin think that statistics is like Marxism?
The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended.
What? This is insane. We're gonna do the thing here. Do you think there's a source for that? Nope. There's no source for that. They're trampling all over the poor Christian male. This is what minorities are doing to you. This is what letting minorities into our country is doing to the poor white Christian males. This is what the regressive left wants.
Gold medal goes to the most offended.
Gold medal to the most offended doesn't have anything to do with the previous claim. Gold medal goes to the most oppressed would follow more likely. Because if I'm a member of the regressive left, I don't have to be a member of one of these minority groups to be the most offended. Ah! Alright, this next part, well, hang on to your butts.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream that his children would be judged by their character and not their skin color was a liberal idea.
This is the only quote conservatives know from MLK Jr.
Was a liberal idea, but these days it's not a progressive ideal.
This was not even a liberal idea. Oh, I'm dying! MLK was a socialist! Look, I'll make it easy for you. MLK socialist. First thing here. The forgotten socialist history of Martin Luther King Jr. Let's look. There's got to be some images here. Country socialism for the rich, rugged individualism for the poor. Can't help but feel like this is a little different in tone than what Dave Rubin is putting here. A quote from Bill Ayers. King was a socialist and King was an activist who was really a radical by the end. I think we've done a decent job debunking this, calling him liberal. Mr. Rubin, how dare you insult the legacy of this man? Is it not enough that white people have stolen everything from black Americans? You have to call him a liberal too? Have you not taken enough, sir? And you didn't really do anything to say that this is not a progressive ideal. You just said that progressives put minorities in a pecking order for the Olympics and something about being offended, but you didn't really give anything to substantiate those claims.
And what about religious freedom? The idea that
What about religious freedom?
No one else can tell you what you have to believe.
Okay, the idea that no one else can tell you what you have to believe. What do you want to bet he's going to give some examples that contradict this definition? This is a joke because I have watched the video beforehand, and I have studied Dave Rubin quite a bit over the last few years. Also, I want to add that this definition, the idea that no one else can tell you what you have to believe, is kind of contradictory to a lot of religions, especially evangelicals and Church of Latter-day Saints, also known as Mormons. Their entire religions basically revolve around gaining points, converting people, so you can get a high score in the afterlife. Fundamentally, that requires telling people what they have to believe. Actual religious freedom is the idea that no one can make you believe these things or punish you for what you do and do not believe.
Surely progressives still support that basic right. Well, not so much. I'm a married gay man, so you might think that I appreciate the government forcing a Christian baker or photographer or florist to act against their religion in order to cater, photograph, or decorate my wedding. But you'd be wrong.
Yeah, because you're a cuck, Dave. This is not the definition of religious freedom you gave. The definition of religious freedom that you gave, Mr. Rubin, was the idea that no one else can tell you what you have to believe. The idea of the government making anti-discrimination laws that might make a baker, photographer, or florist attend to a wedding has nothing to do with making someone believe something. All the law says you can't discriminate based along certain things. Far cry from what you're trying to say. See that little sleight of hand? Little Martin Bailey there. I like it, but I see through your lies. I see through the lies of PragerU. And you, Dave Rubin. Wait a second.
Religion in order to cater, photograph, or decorate my wedding.
Dave Rubin is Jewish. Why is there a cross on the church?
A government that can force Christians to violate their conscience can force me to violate mine.
The government says if you're going to be a doctor, you have to give people blood transfusions if they need it. Oh, that's violating the conscience of a Jehovah's Witness who disapproves of blood transfusions. The government can't force you to do that. Shut the fuck up, Dave. There's religious beliefs that interfere with the well-being of society and others all the time. Maybe my religious belief is cannibalism. Do you want the government to stop me from going out and eating people? This is religious oppression. Hi, Editing Zach here. I noticed something kind of strange upon playing this back. Listen to the way Dave Rubin delivers this line.
If a baker won't bake you a cake, find another baker.
If a baker won't bake you a cake. Do you think saying that hurt him? I think it kind of did. This is not the expression of someone who is perfectly happy with their life. That's conjecture on my part. It's just a hunch I've got. And if I live in a small town where there are no other bakers, or if I can't find another baker, fuck that. If you're going to be running a business, you have to take it upon yourself to serve people you might not want. Guess what? That's part of fucking life. You shouldn't be in business if you're going to discriminate like that. You can discriminate and say, I'm not going to serve this person because they're a jerk, or I'm not going to serve this person because I don't like them. And that is perfectly fine. But when it comes down to gay marriage, that's never what it is. It's never, I'm not going to make this cake because I don't like you. They always go, I'm not going to make this cake because you're a fucking faggot. They feel like they're making a fucking stand being homophobic assholes. And it's like, no, you shouldn't even be in business. So you're essentially telling them to leave. It's the Ben Shapiroism. Sell your house and move. You already filled out articles of incorporation with the state. You're kind of bound by certain laws anyway. Like, if I'm making a cake, you know, the people coming in have a reasonable expectation that I'm not going to sneak human remains into their cake and force them to commit cannibalism against their will. And there's a good reason for that. But imagine me going just saying, why can't I do this, Mr. Rubin? This is violating my religious autonomy. This is my own private business. I don't want the state telling me that I can't force people to commit cannibalism against their will.
I'm pro-choice. But a government that can force a group of Catholic nuns, literally called the Little Sisters of the Poor, to violate their faith and pay for abortion-inducing birth control can force anyone to do anything.
I remember this case. Dave Rubin is misrepresenting it in typical PragerU fashion. Now, Dave Rubin phrased the Little Sisters of the Poor as a bunch of Catholic nuns. Notice he didn't specifically call them a church. There's a reason for that, because they're not a church. The Affordable Care Act, that's the Obamacare thing they talked about, tried to require employers to offer health insurance plans that paid for contraceptives, not specifically abortion. The law specifically exempted churches, but not faith-based ministries. Consequently, religious nonprofit organizations, such as Little Sisters of the Poor, were fined if they did not comply with the law. I disagree with the court ruling behind this, but let me explain a little bit more detail to it. The Little Sisters of the Poor, a Catholic religious order, runs over 25 homes for low-income elderly in the United States, and therefore is not automatically exempt from the contraceptive mandate. It objected to filing it because it believed doing so would make the order complicit in providing contraception, a sin under Catholic doctrine. Everything else aside, the idea of sin is so stupid anyway. The idea that providing contraception is a sin? Okay, why don't you go bang some stones together? So you're running 25 homes for low-income elderly people. Now I'm assuming there's a fair amount of employees that work in these homes, and it's like, well, you care for the elderly, that's nice. You don't fucking get your birth control. Oh, what's that? You take birth control because you have one of a whole lot of other medical conditions that's not specifically related to the need for a contraception? Too bad, that's against my religion! Maybe my religion is taking birth control. Have you thought about that, Dave? Why are you letting this group discriminate against me? I didn't see anything about abortion-inducing birth control. I think he just pulled that out of his ass. I don't understand the point of this animation. A nun's giving money to a big government man? Shouldn't you have made him black because Obama and Obamacare? I don't know. PragerU is incoherent sometimes. Also nice that the animation puts, oh, look at this nice little nun. You ignore the fact that it's housing workers that are being paid for. Well, it makes sense. I mean, ultimately, if we follow Dave Rubin's policy, who does it hurt the most? It hurts poor people. Look at that.
That's not progressive, that's regressive.
Boo! Fucking cringe. If we let poor people have birth control, that's regressive. Wow. Well, you know, government fucking murders people every day, so you're not doing anything to stop that. I guess you're regressive too.
Today's progressivism has become a faux moral movement, hurling charges of racism, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords.
You're just repeating everything from Dennis Prager's liberal versus left video. He said the leftists think all these things about America. And you didn't say anything about Islamophobia in this video, Dave. I don't know why you're bringing that one up. Wait, these are meaningless buzzwords? No, they're not. These are pretty accurate descriptions of some people. Oh, it's such an unfortunate face.
Islamophobia and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords at anyone they disagree with.
I don't know about you, Dave. I don't know your personal life. Maybe you're a fun guy to be around, but I think we should disagree with racists. Maybe that's a hot take. That's just how I feel, you know?
The battle of ideas has been replaced by a battle of...
He said the thing! He said the thing! This is a very stupid man's image of what it is like to be an intellectual.
...of feelings, and outrage has replaced honesty. Diversity.
Yeah, that's why you're working for PragerU, right?
Diversity reigns supreme as long as it's not that pesky diversity of thought.
That's right, baby. He wants affirmative action for conservatives. Dave, dog, have you considered that maybe this is the marketplace of ideas acting like it's supposed to, and you're going out of business?
This isn't the recipe for a free society, it's a recipe for authoritarianism.
Yeah, because that logically follows. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. What side is the one that's been consolidating power over the last 4 years? Oh, is it those pesky progressives? No, it's the fucking fascist GOP. Your benefactors, Dave.
For these reasons, I can no longer call myself a progressive. I don't really call myself a Democrat either.
We know. You never called yourself these things, Dave. And I have proof. A 2006 blog post. Just as I'm getting all cozy with George W. Bush, he used the first veto of his presidency to help stop stem cell research earlier today. Someone needs to tell George that if we don't move ahead on stem cell research, the rest of the world will, and then one day there will be an army of superhuman soldiers ready to fight us. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yes, I'm loosely basing that story on how the clones were created in Star Wars Episode 2, but as you probably know, 90% of my theories are Star Wars related one way or another. I'm still Republican today, just one of the few who doesn't fear science. It's 2006. I don't know if y'all remember 2006, but I do. Everyone was fucking sick of them back then. Everyone was sick of the Iraq War. In a quest to beat the heat, I saw Scattered Darkly this afternoon. It was a dark, disturbing vision of the future that would make you think twice before you go on your next drug binge. Oh, and the animation was very cool, and even Keanu looked like he had facial expressions. On an unrelated note, I think I'm gonna stick with my new Republican leanings for a while. Wanna fight about it? This was a time when he couldn't get married either because gay marriage was not legal in the United States, except for like a few states.
I'm a classical liberal.
Classical liberal basically means fascist now. We know this. I know this, you know this. He might know it if he's capable of knowing things.
And as much as I don't like to admit it, defending my liberal values has suddenly become a conservative position.
He says after his paycheck has gone up into the millions. Like, admitting you're a fascist isn't gonna get you laid. Admitting you're a Republican isn't gonna get you laid. I'm guessing Dave Rubin knows this, even though he's married.
People like to get sneaky and use, no, I'm a classic liberal.
Yeah, because
what is that? What is that?
Exactly.
You're a fucking Republican.
And it's funny.
Hey, you figured it out. Good job, Joe. You got there in the end.
So if you think people should be able to say what they think without being punished for it.
Wait a minute. When you talked about free speech earlier, you didn't say anything about punishments. You mentioned people getting yeeted out of college campuses. That's about it. So I guess the punishment is you made the lady drop her ice cream. What did he say that made her drop her cone? Hey, babe, I think birds are real.
That people should be judged by their behavior, not their skin color.
Did we say anything that we don't judge people by their behavior? Earlier, the MLK quote that you only know. Yeah, it mentions character, and now you're talking behavior. Whoa, so you've changed adjectives on me? These aren't the same thing, Dave. Again, the PragerU video doesn't really give any examples of how people are being judged by their skin color or judged by their minority status, but rather they just make a gesture at the people on the left and say, this is what they do. No explanation of what they do and how they do it. No examples. It's just, trust me, bro. This is what they do.
And that people should be able to live the way that they want to live without government interference.
Yeah, this is totally a polycule. Progressive PragerU. Didn't really say much about government interference either. The specific example you used about birth control barely even qualifies for this. If people want to live the way they want to live without government interference, maybe we should have universal health care. That way, there won't be any religiously affiliated groups that might have to pay for the birth control of their employees. Now you can say, oh, maybe their tax money pays for it. Yeah, I don't care. You know, how many of our tax dollars have gone to murdering people? How many of our tax dollars have gone to killing people in the Middle East? How many of our tax dollars have gone to making big, giant nuclear bombs? Fucking suck it up, man. You hypocritical pieces of shit. If you don't want your tax dollars going to birth control, maybe you can make an ethical argument for that, but there's a shit ton of a lot more evil out there that you don't raise a fuss about. You don't raise a stink about. You let it happen every single day. I'm going off track here. Let's get back.
Then there's not much left on the left for you.
You can really tell that Dave Rubin himself wrote this. It's pretty nonsense.
I'll keep trying to explain that to progressives until I'm totally left out.
Ha! Get it? Left out. It's a pun. Yeah. Keep trying to explain that to all the progressives that you invite on your show, like Sam Cedar, David Packman, ContraPoints, Destiny, Vosh, Philosophy Tube. The list keeps going on. Even me. You want to invite me to explain that to me? Oh, nope. Wait a minute. He hasn't invited any of these people on because he's a fucking sellout shill working for PragerU. He has no ethics. He has no morals. He's made a calculation and he's picked his side. What the fuck am I doing? In summary, Dave Rubin was never left. Prager University is a complete scam. They make up all this dumb shit. They got a lot of blood and oil money that's funded their conquest of the internet. And I've had enough of it. That's the video. I would like to give a special thanks to all of my October patron backers. Critch, Dios, Elsie Hupp, George, Jai Palamo, Mellow Cheddar, and Willowy Wings. Thank you everyone so much for backing me. The day of reckoning draws nigh. I'm talking about the return of Jordan Peterson, of course. What are you talking about? What's this about, an election? What's going on? What's going on with that? No, everything's fine. There's no election out there. If you want to see more dunking on Dave Rubin, click the like and subscribe. I actually kind of like doing videos like this, so like and subscribe again.